Hi guys, my name's Joel Prue from PWS Studios, and I've decided to make a full mix walkthrough for a song that I've recently recorded and mixed for a local band from Buffalo, New York. The reason I wanted to do this is because when I first started out in audio, I struggled to find quality mix tutorials on YouTube, and I could never find a full mix walkthrough on the internet without paying for it. So in this tutorial, I'm going to take you through all my tracks from drums to vocals and show you exactly what I did on each track to achieve my final sound. I'm hoping to reach someone out there who's maybe in the same spot I was 10 years ago, and at the very least, maybe move someone a little bit further along in their mixing career. Hope you guys like it. Alright guys, so we're going to get started right away with drums, but first I just wanted to show you a clip from the song so you guys know what you're getting yourselves into. Here you go. I'm waiting. Alright, so it's a pretty full song. We got some punchy drums, some synth, a lot of vocal layers, pretty typical of a rock song. I just want to show you guys what the kit sounds like on its own real quick so you know what the finished product is. So these drums sound like they were recorded in a big room. They actually weren't. I don't have a very big space for recording drums in my studio, but I do have a trick to get them to sound like they were recorded in a big studio, so I will show you guys that a little bit later. All right, kick drum. So in this song I have two mics on the kick. I got one on the inside really close to the skin. I have one on the outside, kind of at the porthole of the kick drum, and then I have a kick sample, and these are all going to my kick bus down here. So you might notice there's a bunch of drum edits here. I'm not going to go over any editing or any vocal tuning in this because that would just take way too long. I'll first play you the inside kick mic with no processing on it, so I'll bypass all my plugins. Here it is. So it already sounds really good. It's really beefy, but what I wanted to do here is just add a little bit more punch to it. The first plugin I use on this kick is the SSL channel from Waves. I use this plugin on a lot of my tracks, as you'll see, and I might go over some of these plugins a little bit more in detail at first for beginners. The first thing I usually do with kick drum is set a high pass filter to clean up the low end. I set mine at 55 Hertz on this kick, so we're essentially filtering out everything below 55 Hertz. So I will play this and just exaggerate it for you so you can see what it's doing. So it just kind of cleans up the low end a little bit. You don't want all the low end out, but you don't want too much sub coming through either. The next thing I do is set a low pass filter, which is just the opposite of a high pass filter. So on this we have it set at 12K, so we're filtering out everything above 12K. The reason I do that is because there's not many useful frequencies above 12K on a kick drum. The next EQ move I made was to put a high shelf on the kick, and I did it at 6K and boosted by about 4 dB. Usually between 6 and 8 I'll do a high shelf. So this is kind of the high end sizzle of the kick drum. I'll just boost this up and show you what this is doing. So we don't want too much pop to it, but I thought it sounded good at about 4 dB, and I'll just show you before and after. The next move I made was a boost at 4.5K. I have a medium Q, and I'm just boosting by just over a dB here, not too much. This is really the sound of the batter hitting against the skin of the kick, and you usually find it between 4 and 5K. And I'll just exaggerate this for you to show you what it sounds like. And the last EQ move I'm doing on this plugin is a boost at 60 Hertz by about 2 dB, and I have bell curve selected instead of the low shelf. 60 Hertz is really where the low end of the kick lives, and I'll just boost this for you, show you what that sounds like. So if you want more low end in your kick, usually between 55 and 65 is where you're going to find that. I am using the compressor on this plugin. If you want to get a little bit more punch out of your drums, compress with a slow attack so it's not clamping down on the transient of the drum. So this compressor has 2 settings, fast or slow. So I went slow, and I also have the fastest release, and my compression ratio is about 3:1. And I'll show you what this sounds like, and I'll turn the compression up a little bit so you can hear what it sounds like. So this is just evening out the drum a little bit while adding a tiny bit of punch to it. And I was getting about 3 dB of gain reduction, so not much. I'll play it one more time. You can see. This mic was compressed on the way in, so I really didn't need much while mixing. So I'll show you what this drum sounds like with the plug-in bypass versus on. So it's not really a huge difference, but it's definitely got a little bit more smack to it, a little bit more high end, which will help it pop through the mix a little bit more. The next plugin I'm using on this kick is the FabFilter Pro Q2. And with this, I usually just try to take out some of the muddy frequencies of the kick drum. So it looks like I thought there was still too much low end coming through on this kick drum, so I added another high pass filter at 30 Hertz with a really steep slope though. On the SSL channel, this high pass filter has more of a gentle slope, which looks something like this, and even when you're cutting at a certain frequency, you're still letting some of the frequencies below it through. With this plugin, you can get a little bit more surgical. And I will just show you this and let you hear the frequencies that I'm taking out. So we're really just cutting the super low end of the kick drum and tightening it up a little bit more. I then added a low shelf at 40 Hertz, and I'm turning it down by about a dB and a half. This is more of just controlling the low end. I'll show you the frequencies that I'm taking down a little bit. And I'm making sure not to touch that fundamental bass frequency of 60 because that's exactly where I want it to be. So I'm also doing a cut at 138. Usually if a kick drum's a little muddy, I will cut somewhere between 100 and 200 Hertz. I'll boost this up so you can hear the frequency I'm cutting out. So that just tightens the kick up even more. I really just search around for frequencies that aren't pleasing to my ear and turn them down a little bit. The last plugin I'm using on this kick is a noise gate. I'm using the FabFilter Pro G, but any noise gate plugin will do. I'm using this to just kind of cut down on the snare bleed a little bit. I got the release at 1000 milliseconds, the holds at 99, and the attacks all the way down at 0. And then I just kind of dial up the threshold a little bit until I start to lose some of the snare. I'll play this for you and then turn the plugin on so you can hear how the snare just tucks into the background a little bit. So we're not losing all the bleed, but you're always going to have some bleed with live drums, and that's okay. Now we're going to move on to our second kick here. And I'll just play this for you with all the plugins bypassed so you can hear what it sounded like right after it was recorded. This kick obviously sounds a lot different than the first kick we worked on. The first kick I used a condenser microphone, and this one's a dynamic microphone a little further away from the drum. So I use the condenser mic to kind of get the punchiness of the drum, more of the high end, and then I usually fill in the low end with this microphone that we're working on now. So I'll show you what I did here. On this kick, I'm starting off with the SSL channel again, and I have a high pass filter at 55, low pass at 12K, just like the first one. On this kick, I'm doing a bigger shelf boost around 8K. This kick sounded really dull, so I needed to add a lot more high end to this one. So I'll bring this boost down and bring it in and out so you can hear what it's doing. So it's really brightening it up a lot. I'm also doing a small boost just over a dB at 4.5K, kind of similar to the first kick. But on this kick, I'm also taking out a bunch of mud around 300 hertz. I have a really narrow Q. I'll just play this for you and boost this so you can hear the frequency I'm cutting a little bit. So kicks can really get pretty muddy around 300. It's a typical area I cut a lot. I'm also doing a huge boost with a bell curve at 60 hertz. Remember, I really wanted the low end of this mic to come through, so I got a boost of just over 11 dB here. So I'll bring this down, show you what it's like when I add it in. So that's really adding a lot of low end to it, kind of something I wanted to fill in on the kick after not bringing so much out on the first mic. I'm also using the compressor on the SSL. Got a slow attack, fastest release, and about a 3-to-1 ratio, and I'm getting about 6 dB of gain reduction. I also use the Pro Q2 on this kick to clean up the low end and just rolling off everything below 40 hertz. So I'll show you this and show you the frequencies I'm cutting. I'll just show you real quick what these kicks sound like together. I'll solo the first one and then bring the second kick mic in. So I feel like they really complement each other. One's really punchy, has a lot of high end, and the other has a good amount of low end. So I thought these kicks sounded really good, but I wanted to get even more pop out of this. So I did add a sample, a really punchy sample. So I'll just show you what that sounds like. As punchy as it is, I did do a boost at 8K. So again, I'm using the SSL channel. I'm only using this high shelf on it. 8K, I'm boosting by 5.5 dB. So I'll show you what this sounds like. So that might not sound good on its own, but it really did sound good blended in with the other kicks. I'm just going to play you the two kick mics and bring the sample in and out so you can hear how it's affecting the overall kick sound. So it's really just a more defined, more punchy kick sound overall when that sample's in there. As I said before, I have all three of my kicks going to the kick bus. So as you see here, I have them all going to bus 2, and bus 2 is my kick bus. I do have the SSL channel on the kick bus doing a boost at 60 hertz, just by a little over 3.5 dB. What happened here is as I added more instruments in after the drums were mixed, I felt that the kick just needed more low end to come through. So I'll play you the drums and I'll bypass this plugin and bring it in and out so you can hear the low end being added. And this happens as you get more into the mix. Sometimes you have to go back and make adjustments. Hey guys, if you like this video, be sure to download my Ultimate Home Studio Mix Guide. These are my go-to starting points for EQ and compression for all my instruments. I've also included my settings for my drum bus and my master bus. This is going to make your life so much easier when mixing, and if I had this 10 years ago, it would have saved me from a lot of headaches when I was struggling to mix my own music. I've seen a lot of cheat sheets out there from big name guys giving out their tips, but we know that when we're recording at home, the quality of the tracks we start with aren't always going to be as good as if they were recorded in a big studio. But this guide is perfect for someone recording at home and is going to go a long way in helping you create label quality music. Click the link on the screen or in the description to download. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.